Now that we've set up our seed class and registered it inside the program file, all we need to do to populate the database is simply run the application. When the app starts, the seed class will automatically execute and insert all of our sample data into the database. Once it's finished running, you can head back into SQL Server Management Studio and open your Book Review App database. Inside the Tables folder, you'll see that Entity Framework has created all the tables for our models: books, authors, categories, reviews, and more. If you right-click on any table and choose Select Top 1000 Rows, you'll see that the data is already there. Books, authors, categories, and reviews have all been successfully inserted. So with just one run of the application, we now have a fully populated SQL Server database ready to be used in our API. Now that our database is ready and filled with data, it's time to organize how our application will interact with that data. In this part, we're going to implement something called the repository pattern. The repository pattern is a design pattern that helps us separate our business logic from our data access logic. In simple terms, instead of having our controllers directly talk to the database, we create repositories that handle all the database operations for us. This makes our code cleaner, easier to test, and more maintainable in the long run. Think of a repository as a middleman. It sits between your API controllers and your data context, making sure all database access is handled in one place. To get started, let's organize our project structure. Inside your project, right-click and create a new folder named Interfaces. This folder will contain all the interface definitions for our repositories. Then create another folder named Repository. This one will hold the actual implementations of those interfaces. With these two folders in place, we're ready to start building repositories for our models, like books, authors, reviews, and so on, each responsible for handling its own data operations. Now that we've set up our Interfaces folder, let's start by creating our first interface. This one will handle all operations related to books. Inside the Interfaces folder, right-click and add a new file named iBookRepository.cs. In C#, interfaces are like contracts. They define what methods or operations a class must implement, but they don't contain any code themselves. Think of it as a list of promises. Any class that implements this interface must provide the actual logic for the methods we define here. Let's start simple. Inside our book repository interface, we'll add a method that returns a collection of books from the database. Now that we've defined our interface, let's go ahead and create the actual implementation for it. Inside the repository folder, right-click and add a new class named Book Repository. This class will implement the iBookRepository interface we just created. In C#, when a class implements an interface, it must provide the actual logic for every method that the interface defines. Let's start by making our class implement the interface. Let's break down what's happening here. We're injecting our data context into the repository using a constructor. That allows this class to communicate directly with our SQL database through Entity Framework. The method getBooks returns a collection of all books from the database, ordered by their ID. The repository acts as the data access layer. It focuses only on reading and writing data, keeping our controllers clean and easy to maintain. Now that our repository is ready, it's time to create our first API controller, the one that will handle all book-related requests. Inside the Controllers folder, right-click and add a new class named Books Controller. At the top of the class, we'll add two important attributes. These two attributes tell ASP.NET Core that this class is an API controller and that it will handle HTTP requests for the route API books. The root attribute defines the URL pattern, and APT controller enables helpful API features like automatic model validation and cleaner responses. Now, inside our controller, let's create a constructor and inject our iBook repository. By injecting the repository, our controller can now access all the data operations defined in the book repository. This is where dependency injection really shines. We don't have to create the repository manually. ASP.NET Core automatically provides it for us thanks to the registration we'll set up inside the program file. With this setup, our controller is now ready to handle requests and return book data directly from the database. Now that our controller is connected to the repository, let's add our first HTTP GET endpoint to return all the books in the database. This is what allows clients, like Postman, Swagger, or even front-end apps, to request data from our API. Inside the Books controller, let's add the following method. Here's what's happening. HTTP GET tells ASP.NET Core that this method will handle GET requests. Producer's response type specifies that the method returns a 200 OK response containing a list of book objects. We call book repository getBooks to fetch the data from our database. Finally, we return the data wrapped in an OK response. This is the simplest form of an API endpoint. It receives a request, gets data through the repository, and sends it back to the client in JSON format. Once this is done, run the app and go to the Swagger UI. You'll now see a new route called Get API Books. Try executing it, and you'll see your list of books coming straight from the database. Now, before we run our API, there's one very important step we don't want to forget, and that's adding dependency injection for our repository. Remember how we injected the iBook repository into our Books controller constructor? ASP.NET Core doesn't automatically know how to create an instance of that repository. We have to tell it how to do that. And we do it by registering our repository inside the program file. And right under where we registered the DB context, add the following line. Here's what this line means. AddScoped tells ASP. NetCore to create one instance of the repository per web request. The first type, iBook repository, is the interface we depend on. The second type, book repository, is the class that implements it. So, whenever the controller asks for an iBook repository, ASP.NET Core automatically injects an instance of book repository. This is what we call dependency injection. It's one of the most powerful features in ASP.NET Core because it helps keep our code clean, modular, and testable. Once that's added, save the file and run the app again. Your Books controller will now receive its repository automatically, and your API endpoints will start working perfectly.